What's up, guys? It's Andy here. Welcome back to Painfully Honest Advice. So in this video, I am going to share with you guys the 7 best bank stocks to currently buy right now. And these stocks can basically overcome any kind of recession like the one we're in right now. And I believe even if we go in a depression, these stocks will do just fine. Now, yes, I do believe that we are in the middle of a financial crisis because people are not able to afford their rent payments, and there's more and more foreclosures that are happening, and bank stocks are actually down over 30%. So with the bank sector being down this much, it actually might not be a bad time to start investing in this sector. And as Warren Buffett would say, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So the way I look at it is the bank sector cannot fail. If the bank sector fails, basically the whole economy will crash. So right now might be the best time to start investing in this sector. But if you are new to my channel, my name is Andy. I do make videos around business, personal finance, and investing. So if you like any of those topics, make sure to subscribe down to the channel and hit that subscription bell down below. And if you don't mind, hitting that like button as well. Now let's go ahead and jump into it. Now I believe that the bank stocks are gonna rebound. We just don't know when because we're in the middle of this pandemic. So right now, investing in bank stocks might be a great way to start growing in this sector. Now personally, I like bank stocks because they do pay out some of the highest dividends. And some of these bank stocks actually did not fall even during the 2008 financial crisis. Plus, my strategy is to focus on long-term investing, but also build another source of passive income. So these stocks are all going to be paying out a dividend, and these are going to be a bit safer growth stocks as well. So they are going to be some of the largest banks that are out there. And personally, what I would suggest is to use dollar cost averaging to start investing in the stock market if you're new to the market. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so obviously take this with a grain of salt because this is just what I personally do that I want to share with you guys. But with dollar cost averaging, you're actually able to start denominating a certain amount of money on a weekly or monthly basis. And if the stock market goes down, great, you can actually invest at a lower price. And if the stock market goes up, well, you've already been investing. So that's a positive thing where you won't lose out and you won't have the fear that you're losing out on that money. And as always, guys, all 7 of these stocks that I'm gonna share, I do currently hold in my portfolio as well, because I wouldn't share with you guys something that I'm not doing myself. Now let's go ahead and jump into it. The first stock is gonna be JP Morgan Chase. Now I came from the background of the financial sector, and basically I worked in the banking sector for about 7 to 10 years. I worked at different banks like M&T, HSBC, Citigroup, but JP Morgan Chase, where I had a lot of my buddies that used to work there, have some of the highest technology out there. Basically, setting up an account at JP Morgan Chase was like 10 seconds as opposed to setting up an account at one of these other banks that I've worked at. So they are ahead of the curve when it comes down to technology. Plus, JP Morgan Chase actually is one of the oldest banks in the world, and they actually started in 1799. And yes, they're that old. Plus, JP Morgan Chase is actually the largest bank in the United States. So basically, the whole economy would have to fall before this bank can fail. Now, this bank did take a bit of a hit in 2008, but they rebounded quite well since then. So long term, I do see this bank and holding this bank as a good long-term strategy. And currently, this bank is actually down year to date about 35%. So it may not be a bad time to start looking at this bank. Plus, this bank does pay out a dividend yield of right around 4%. So that is quite a high dividend yield just for investing in this. And basically with a dividend like that, you're growing your money right around 4% just by investing in this bank and building that passive income. But now let's go ahead and jump into the second stock on the list and the second bank on the list, which is a close one to my heart because I used to work there. So this brings back some memories. But the second bank is going to be M&T Bank. Now, M&T Bank is probably one of the most conservative banks that are out there. They're actually one of the only 2 banks that did not cut their dividends during the 2008 and 2009 crisis. Now, I used to work there, so I had a lot of experience with this bank, and I can tell you, as far as getting a loan with M&T Bank, good luck. I mean, you have to have some really good credit. And a lot of my friends that used to apply, unfortunately, I couldn't even do anything to get them approved. Now, this bank did get hit as well, and their stock year to date is down about 40%. But the nice thing with M&T Bank is because they're so conservative, I don't see them reducing their dividends. And currently, they're paying a pretty nice dividend. Their dividend is right around 4.5%. So for a long-term conservative bank that's going to be paying out a dividend on a quarterly basis, I do personally really like M&T Bank, and I do have this in my portfolio as well. And just on the growth perspective, this bank actually grew their dividends in the last 5 years by 8%. So long term, this is a steady growth company that I don't see going anywhere. And even if we're in the middle of this financial crisis, I see this bank being able to still pay out and just grow over time. All right, now we're going to get even more conservative. Now, the next stock on the list and the third bank on the list is actually going to be a Canadian bank, and that's going to be TD. Now, TD is one of the most conservative banks. And basically, when you look at the banking sector and all the banks that actually got hit in 2008, the Canadian banking sector and the top 5 banks in Canada actually did not get hit at all. And those banks did not need a bailout, and they were consistently still paying their dividends to their shareholders. Now, with TD, they've actually been paying out their dividends for the last 100 years. So this is a very conservative bank. But with this financial crisis, this bank actually took a hit as well, and their stock price is down around 30% year to date. Plus, this stock actually pays out a solid dividend. They pay a dividend of right around 5.49%. So for a diversification within the financial sector, I personally really like the Canadian banks because they're a bit safer than some of the US banks. Plus, with their long-term safety and their dividend history, those banks just seem a bit more secure. Now with TD Bank, they are actually expanding in the US as well. And out of the 5 big banks in Canada, TD is probably growing the most aggressive, but they're also taking the most precautions as well. So I do see them being the most well positioned to grow for the long term. So this is a good Canadian bank to invest in if you're looking for growth, plus if you're looking for a good dividend. Plus, if we look at their stock price for the last 3 years, this bank has been trading right around $55, and currently they're actually under $40. So I see this stock just going up long term, and I do think that this company is currently undervalued. And if we look at their all-time charts, this company has been growing. All right, so next, let's go ahead and come right back to the States. Now, the next bank we've probably all heard of, or we probably all have bank accounts with. I have a bank account with them personally, which is going to be Bank of America. Now, Bank of America is another classic traditional US bank, but they are the largest bank when it comes down to retail locations. They actually have over 4,000 branches in the US. Now, this is another bank that did get hit in the 2008 financial crisis, but since then, they have actually been rebounding the best. And since then, they've changed a lot of things within the way they do their business. Plus, if you look at Warren Buffett's portfolio, Bank of America is actually one of his top holdings, and I believe it's his second top holding overall in his portfolio. And recently with this pandemic, Bank of America did take a hit as well. So they are actually down about 35% this year, and their dividends are pretty solid as well. Their dividends are right around 3%. But for a long-term strategy and for having a top bank within the financial sector, I personally do like Bank of America. Now next, let's go ahead and cross the border again, because this is going to be another Canadian bank, but this bank is going to be Bank of Montreal, and their ticker symbol is BMO. Now, Bank of Montreal is probably the most conservative bank in Canada, and they're actually the oldest bank in Canada. They started in 1829, and this bank has not missed their dividends in the last 100 years. Now, currently with this pandemic, this bank's price is actually down, and their stock price is down about 40% this year. They used to trade right around $75, and currently they're trading at right around $46 per share. Now, personally, I do like Bank of Montreal just because of their very conservative approach. Plus, they do pay out a decent dividend with a dividend yield of 6.36%. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump into the next stock. And the sixth stock that's going to be on the list is actually not going to be an actual brick and mortar bank, but it is still going to be within the financial sector. And I had to include this on this list because I like the idea of diversifying within the financial sector. And this is a much safer stock as well. And this is going to be Aflac. Aflac. Now, Aflac personally is one of the biggest and best companies out there when it comes to health and life insurance products. Now, they do have a very unique niche, and this company is actually extremely solid when you start looking into this company and look at their financials. Plus, this company has been consistently paying their dividends for the last 38 years. Consecutively, meaning that they are considered a dividend aristocrat. Basically, they've been growing their dividends for at least the last 38 years. Now, I personally have this company in my portfolio as well, and I am a bit aggressive on this company because I do see the growth potential. Plus, they do pay out dividends as well. Their current dividend yield is right around 3.2%. So this is not a bad time to invest in a company that's still within the financial sector, but it's not an actual brick and mortar bank. And I will say with Aflac, they are probably the most recession proof out of any of the stocks that I've shared because of their business model and because of their niche. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into the seventh stock on the list. Now, this is going to be another one that's within the financial sector, but it's not an actual brick and mortar bank. But this is another one worth mentioning because they have actually recovered the quickest so far, and it is gonna be SLF, or Sun Life Financial. Now, Sun Life Financial is the largest Canadian life insurance company, but they also are within the United States as well. Now, this company does have a very conservative approach as well. And if we just look, they've actually rebounded the quickest. And year to date, they're actually down 26%. But compared to some of the other banks that we've talked about, they're actually down the least amount year to date. Additionally, they do pay out a solid dividend as well, which is right around 4.9%. So this is another stock within the financial sector that I like to diversify in, and I do invest in this within my portfolio as well. But guys, that is going to be a wrap for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the 7 best stocks within the financial sector and the 7 best bank stocks that I personally like that I have in my portfolio. And like I said, as we're in the middle of this financial crisis, now might not be the bad time to start investing in the banking sector and in the financial sector. But what I would personally suggest is to go ahead and dollar cost average every single week or every single month, invest a certain amount of money. But I'm going to leave it at that. Now, if you are new to trading, I do have a couple free stocks down in the description below if you want to check it out and get a free stock. Webull is actually one of the platforms that actually offers 2 free stocks compared to some of the other platforms, one for signing up with them and a second stock when you deposit at least $100 in your account. That's worth up to $1,400. But that's going to do it for this video, fam. Make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. But I will see you guys at the next one.